Christopher William Crawley received the house on January 1876. He was one of the founders of the town, Junee. He provided many jobs such as markets, railway stations, and hardware stores. He was highly respected. The Crawleys had 7 children. Helen Ann, Lydia, which would soon fall to her death when dropped from the stairs, Angela, Florence, Mervyn, Aubrey, and Alfonso. The girls of the family attended schools dedicated to the arts such as painting, drawing, and playing instruments. Helen Ann was the beauty of the family. She had rare, violet eyes. She also stayed away from direct sunlight because her fair, rosy complexion was admired by others. When she stepped outside, she always had some sort of protection on, such as a parasol, Angelina Christina enjoyed drawing and sketched on letters sent to friends. These letters exist to this day in the Crawley homestead. The drawing room is the scariest, most haunted place on the 2nd floor. The last little girl's name is Aubrey. She became a doctor, and in her spare time, she played the violin. Mervyn was nicknamed the Pioneer of Queensland because of his ambition and desire for power. He owned and operated extensive pastoral holdings in the state of Australia. Alfonso is noted as the finest pianist in a very musical family. He became a lawyer and broke the Australian record for practicing law for 62 years. The mother of the house, Mrs. Crawley, ruled with an iron fist. She constantly wore a black lace dress. Staff would recount stories of harsh treatment by their employers. Mrs. Crawley's ghost has been seen and felt on many occasions. Mr. Crawley died on December 14, 1910, at the age of 69, at Monte, Cristo, Homestead, due to heart failure. The widow immersed herself in the Bible and formed one of the rooms into a chapel. She is rumored to leave the house only 2 occasions in 23 years. On August 12, 1933, at the age of 92, she died of heart failure. The stairs often cause problems, especially with children. Little children around the ages of 3 or 4 continually cause an uproar on or near the staircase. It is said Lydia's ghost haunts these stairs because she felt her death as a toddler. In one of the tours, a mother and daughter appeared to be having trouble moving up the stairs. Midway, they seemed incapable of ascending further. Both said in a worried tone some unseen force was stopping them from going up. However, they moved down and away from the stairs, the problem disappeared. Ian was a railways employee who kept and trained horses for the Crawleys in their stables. One day he entered a stall to feed the horses and noticed the door starting to swing shut. A fire began in the stables from an oil lamp nearby. He couldn't escape the flames. He was burned to death. Whispers are heard in these stables to this day. They resemble that of the stable boy. This is a first-hand account from a caretaker of the homestead, Peter Underwood. The first cat that stayed around the house was one rescued after hearing it crying in one of the paddocks behind the homestead. The caretaker bandaged its injured paw, and it limped off without a purr of thanks. After a couple of months, the cat had a litter of kittens down in the sheds. Suddenly, each of the kittens at a few months old would froth at the mouth and die. That happened countless times until one finally survived 5 months later. His name was Olive. One morning, the last kitten's eyes were gouged out and its stomach torn open. The house was locked, completely locked, from inside, and no point of entry could be found. Wild chickens roamed around the homestead. The caretaker built a hen house for the sake of poultry. After a few days in the hen house, they started dying, one by one, until they had all died. Wire fencing and locks surrounded the hen house. One day, the chickens and a pet parrot were found with their necks wrung in the center of the coop. The wire fence was intact and the lock had not been tampered with. There was a mentally ill man named Howard, the son of a caretaker, who was chained up in the caretaker's cottage for 40 years. When the local police found him, he was curled up in a ball next to the body of his dead mother and sent to a mental institute where he died shortly after. The tragedy doesn't end with the Crawleys. After the house was left in 1948, it was taken over by a group of caretakers, one of whom was murdered in the caretaker's cottage. The most recent death at Monte Cristo occurred in 1961, when caretaker Jackie Simpson was murdered by a local youth. After watching the movie Psycho several times, the boy made his way to the grounds of the homestead with a rifle and shot the caretaker dead in his cottage. It is believed that he scrawled the words, "Die, Jack, ha ha ha," on the wooden door.